How you doing, Lee?
How's that? Can you hear me at all?
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
g'day.
yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Fantastic. No, it's how are things at Lifter?
Sorry?
How are things at you're part of Lifter, right?
No.
No. Okay. What
No,
what
no.
what area of business are you in?
Civil tech solution, civil engineering.
Oh, civil engineering. Okay, no worries. There's just another guy called Lee with the exact same spelling that runs a networking group in Osborne Park in Western Australia. So I thought it might be you might be the same person because you don't see that spelling that often.
Oh, no. No, unfortunately not. Here up here in Darwin.
Oh, in Darwin.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. So did you hear about through Business Station or maybe through Dante, or how did you come to know about the session?
Yeah, Business Station, and have caught up with Dante, and we were talking about business plans, and just mentioned there that you had a webinar going on in the next week. So yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
timely.
yeah. Awesome, awesome. Had quite a few clients come in from the NT. Guy from Catherine, and just got off a session with an advisor from Darwin. So and I used to live there when I was 2 years old. So that's kind of quite interesting back history.
And you got a nice
Yeah,
tropical background too.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I kind of moved between the three states. So Western Australia, Queensland, and the Northern Territory. So haven't been up to Darwin recently. I was going to go around the Christmas time, but yeah, I don't know why, but it never ended up happening. I was gonna suggest to my uncle that we meet because I think particularly during COVID, it was quite cheap actually to go and stay in these quite exotic places. I think the prices have probably gone back up to their high levels, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a bit of a golden era of Airbnb going back a year or so. Cool. So welcome and sorry.
No, all good. Yeah. Is it just us?
No. There's three more people. I'll just say hello to them, and there'll probably be at least a couple before we are ready to kick off. So nice to meet you, Lee.
Yeah. Thanks, Tristan.
And hopefully you'll enjoy the content. Any questions, just put your hand up or ask to be unmuted, and I'm happy to kind of unmute you and hear your questions or your thoughts or your comments on anything that we raised today.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so we will now talk to Jennifer Anderson. Oh wait, I've clicked Daniel. Oops. How you doing, Daniel?
Hey Tristan. Yeah, that's okay. I'll say hello anyway. Yeah, nice to see you again, and yeah, looking forward to the content and yeah, learning some bit more about this philosophy.
This philosophy, yeah, awesome. So maybe if you'd like, you can
yeah,
also just mention what you're up to in terms of the kind of business that you're in and the part of the country that you're in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, sure. So located in Melbourne, Australia, after spending some time up in Queensland during COVID. And now that I've returned, I'm looking to reignite my digital agency with a focus on Google Ads, paid search. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
No worries. All good. Alrighty, we'll just run through the rest. So I will click on Jennifer now. She's next in line. How are you doing, Jennifer?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can indeed.
Yeah, I'm good.
Doing?
Thank you. Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, pretty
Hi
good.
to everybody that's here. So I'm hoping that this is the right course to be in. It just said it was a business, sort of getting business, my understanding, getting business up and running and what you do. I don't know, is that about right?
That is indeed. It's today we're looking kind of at the fundamentals, but in quite an advanced way. So, but it'll show you some of the building blocks that perhaps no one's shown you in the past. So,
okay. So my business, I'm a psychotherapist, counsellor, and
Yep.
I'm getting my own private practice. Well, I have got my own private practice, but I want to. I've just had it very small because I've been doing a master's last year and this year. So just wanting to just see if there's any little tips and hints when I'm doing my getting the business running. I mean, it's up and running, but it's tiny. And I'm from Perth, WA.
Awesome. Excellent stuff. Well, welcome along. So we'll move along to Jade. Jade's down in the southwest. How are you doing, Jade?
Hi, great, thank you. Yes, I'm based in France. I run my own small business doing photography and graphic design, but this year I'm focusing on getting my app out to a wider audience. So I've got a small business app that helps people through those first 3 years of starting a business.
Awesome. So almost a match straight away with Jennifer, which is great. Okay, we did have some more. We've had a few people drop off. I don't know why. Maybe they need to reconnect or something. But yeah, maybe if they pop up again, I'll talk to them. But maybe it's about time that we got started on the main content, just to make sure that we make it all the way through, because there's quite a bit to cover in quite a short period of time. Again, if you've got questions or you've got comments, or you need clarification on any of the key points, just let me know, and I'll happily kind of answer and field as many questions as I possibly can within our hour. I might actually quickly introduce Roger as well. Roger, if you're able to speak, just let us know a little bit about yourself, where you're located, and of course, what kind of business that you're in.
Hello, everyone. I'm Roger Cameron from Brisbane, accounting industry. I help businesses, manufacturers, and likewise improve their cash flow, profits, and business value.
Excellent.
Thank you.
No worries. Sounds pretty good. So we've got people from all over the country. We've got Darwin, we've got Brisbane, we've got Melbourne, we've got the Southwest and Perth as well. So pretty evenly kind of spread across everywhere. Fantastic already. I'll just open the presentation. I've got a bunch of other things open as well in the background, so I have to start to close some of them. Okay, so today's session is predominantly about Agile business planning and business modeling. And so it's kind of my take on it. So my interpretation about how it can be done quite efficiently and effectively. And so, yeah. But before we get into the main content, I'd just like to provide you some background information about Business Station. You guys might already know about Business Station, but it's the not-for-profit that's actually running digital solutions, which is the program, the government-funded program that provides all this advisory service. And Business Station covers Western Australia, Queensland, and the Northern Territory. So if you've got an ABN in Western Australia, Northern Territory, or any part of Queensland, then you can actually apply for one-on-one support, which is really cool. And at the moment, we have most of our spaces in Western Australia, although actually I think we've got an office still active in Darwin. And I think we're also at the Brisbane Business Hub in Brisbane, just in case you want to drop in on us in any of those locations. I think there's only one or two people in the Brisbane Business Hub, but we've still got a desk there, which is obviously quite beneficial. So just a little bit about myself, and I'll explain what I mean about these headings. So if you check me out on LinkedIn, you'll see that I help startups and innovative small businesses with some quite advanced kind of advisory, right? Some quite advanced support. So the first area is business model optimization. So I will show you a business model if you haven't seen one already in the coming slides. And yeah, unpack exactly what it is and why we need one and all that kind of thing. Visual strategy canvases, I'll be introducing you to about 8 of them during this session, and what we use them for, why we use them, and how we can improve our business through the use of them. And then just general startup and small business strategy. So I've been doing this for quite some time, 3 to 5 years now. And so I've come across a lot of very unique ways of going about business that can potentially help you and your business succeed. And there's a focus on the entrepreneur that sits behind the helm of a small business or startup. So I definitely, try and invest time and focus on providing a lot of hints and insights to each of the individuals I come into contact with. So that's me, and feel free to add me on LinkedIn if you don't have me already. So here's the big question, right? Why should I care about this topic? So we're talking about agile business modeling and business planning. So what we're actually seeing is it's become less popular over the last number of years. So if we actually grab this figure and take a look at the web volume, like the search volume, what we're seeing is across the entirety of Australia, business planning was at its most popular in 2005, and it's actually dropped off quite considerably. So now we're only at about 20% of the peak popularity of business planning, which is a little bit concerning if you think about it. People are not as, invested in this idea of actually going through and doing that business planning process. And what we're finding is that there's this search is not being replaced with a significant amount of search volume for the business model canvas, which is like the next generation of tools to potentially replace the business plan. Although the two do have slightly different use cases. The business model canvas is a lot more efficient as a tool. It's just less kind of comprehensive, but I'll cover that in the coming slides. So yeah, we're seeing that it's becoming less popular, and we're actually seeing that the business model canvas is not even coming up on Google at all. People are not searching for it in Western Australia, the Northern Territory, and Tasmania, whereas the biggest cities have a little bit more of a focus, but in my view, still not anywhere near enough. They're not really prioritizing the use of the tool too much. One of the reasons why I think this might be happening, and this is just conjecture really, this is just a theory I've got, is it could be caused by like shiny object syndrome, because there's a lot of sexier topics out there, including capital raising, pitch competitions, social media marketing, the list goes on and on and on, product design, product development. These are all really cool topics that people find to be really fascinating and interesting, whereas business planning sounds like it's a little bit boring. But if you use it accurately, then you can it can be extremely powerful and impactful for your business moving forward. So let's just touch on why what I call traditional business planning doesn't work. So traditional business planning, for all intents and purposes, is, so you go to the government's website, business.gov.au. They've got a bunch of templates of all different kinds, and they're all relatively traditional templates, right? So I actually went through over the Christmas and New Year's and actually went through and marked up, commented on the business plan template because it was falling short in multiple areas. Particularly in regards to, it didn't even reference key partners or allies, like forming alliances with other organizations at all. So it leaves quite a bit to be desired. If you'd like a markup, like my thoughts in regards to this template, just let me know. I'll send you an email after this, and there'll be a whole bunch of ways that you can respond. So I'll provide you different options, and one of the options, if I don't forget, will be to provide you a markup of the business plan template so you can see where it is lacking. Then there was kind of another canvas that was produced, which is called a lean canvas, and it's a little bit more useful or easier to use than the business plan, but it doesn't replace the business plan. It's not a like for like, right? And so what the government's done with this is they've taken the lean canvas and then turned it into what they call a lean business plan, which is just like this one, but with fewer components. And of course, that doesn't work too well either, because it's missing a bunch of critical information that relates to particularly, asking questions like, who are your key partners? Who are your allies? Who are your referral partners? Or what supply chain are you operating within? What's your role within that supply chain? And sometimes the answers to these questions are reasonably straightforward, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of discovery in order to realize what the answers are to these fundamental questions. And so if you were to kind of summarize what these canvases do, and I'm not necessarily suggesting lean canvases, the panacea here, it's actually one of the canvases that I don't often prescribe. But the reason why you would is because of the questions that it provokes. So it asks founders some very important questions as they go through their business building journey, right? And over the course of time, you'll realize how kind of multi-dimensional business can be. There's a lot of variables involved. And one of the reasons why we use these canvases is that they're easy to update, they're easy to iterate, and we can start to dial in, start to lock in some of these dimensions so that our business starts to become less unwieldy and much more manageable. So they are for business strategizing, business planning, but also business management. So they've got a variety of different functions within the context of your business. So I've come across about 5 generations of business planning, like from the most chaotic to the most proactive and sophisticated. So the first one is like no planning. So that chaos tends to ensue. There's a lot of founders out there, and I'm sure you know some of them, that don't do any planning whatsoever, and they pretty much go straight into battle. And it can be fun and exhilarating, but it also can feel a little bit like you're a chicken without a head, running around, getting a little bit done here and there, but banging and crashing into obstacles as you go, and it can be quite stressful as a result. So that's probably what I wouldn't suggest not to do. The next level up after that is traditional business planning, where your accountant who's may have been in business for 20 or 30 years, suggests that you download one of these business plans from business.gov.au, because it worked. Like traditional business planning would have worked 20 or 30 years ago, because life was simpler, right? Life was much more manageable when it comes to launching a business. Things have got a lot more complicated now with all the digital marketing channels and everything changing and evolving all the time at an ever increasing rate of knots. So that would have worked like 20 or so years ago. And then the next level up after that is that people come across a whole bunch of these strategy canvases, like the lean canvas, which is actually not a strategy canvas, it's a product management canvas, really, if we're to accurately define what it is. But they come across all these like canvases and templates, and then they kind of fill them in, but they don't really know necessarily which ones to use, because there's multiple variations and everyone's kind of customized it for their own businesses over the course of time. And they don't necessarily know how to get them filled into a really high level, right? So you end up with some value being created, but it's a little bit piecemeal, because it kind of relies on the tools and the frameworks to be properly selected. Yeah, so if you choose the wrong ones, then it might end up down a rabbit hole somewhere. The next level up after that is the systematic use of visual strategy canvases, and we'll run through that in this session predominantly. But actually, I found that there's even a more sophisticated approach than the systematic use of visual strategy canvases, and that integrates execution alongside strategy development. So it's like a feedback loop between re-strategizing and kind of taking to market and executing efficiently. And I'll share with you how I've been able to work alongside founders to achieve that best kind of practice, holy grail approach. But yeah, when it comes to systematic use of visual strategy canvases, again, it's about choosing the right canvas at the right time to clarify it and have it being and applying it correctly. So anyone can fill in one of these canvases, but one of my kind of expertise is actually to review the canvases and make sure that the founders understood how to get it done properly and to a high level, but also to squeeze the value out, squeeze all the insights out of having someone else review your canvas. So yeah, a huge amount of value can be created through this process of kind of mapping out the canvas, asking all those clarification questions, and then seeking to optimize that particular, within the context of that particular tool. Excellent. Okay, so you're probably asking, what the hell are visual strategy canvases? Although we've touched on it a little bit, I have actually created a LinkedIn article. And what I like to do is I like to create these articles that almost form like a wiki of information, which I unpack various concepts. So rather than, getting thrown headfirst into the details, I try to unpack it using various articles. So here are 8 strategy canvases to keep in your business management arsenal. So these are the ones that I typically use on a routine basis and keep them updated. And they kind of operate as my almost like compass to where I'm going from a business standpoint. So there are a number of them. You've got a list, we've got a list here. So the most fundamental is the business model canvas, which I'm a huge fan of, and I've got the most experience with as well, because I find that most small businesses haven't yet done their business model canvas. And if they have, then they haven't taken it as far as they possibly could. And so sometimes we can spend anywhere between about 2 and 6 hours just focused heavily on getting the elements of your business that the business model canvas captures really heavily dialed in. And I'll explain what I mean by dialed in the coming slides. So you've also got a value proposition canvas, an operating model canvas, a business model portfolio map, a stakeholder or key partner heat map, and there's a few others as well that relate to decision-making, critical decision-making that you will need to undertake as part of your business building process. And you've probably seen the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then there's also, how do we understand our customer in a lot more detail than just assuming we know what their world is like. So I'll show you that so that you've got a vivid sense of what I mean. Okay, so this is the business model canvas. And so if you can see, it's got these 9 building blocks. You've got your key partners, key activities, key resources, value propositions, customer relationships, channels, your customer segments, your cost structure and revenue stream. So typically what I get founders to do is issue me a copy of their business model canvas. Because people are using the word business model, but often they will be confusing it with revenue model, right? So there's a little bit of confusion. What's the difference between business plan and business model? What's the difference between revenue model and business model? And this unequivocally is the definition of what a business model is. It's these 9 components, how they're interrelated. And when you change one of them, then sometimes it has an impact on the rest of the squares, right? And so what I do very impartially and objectively is take a look at how all of these pieces of the puzzle fit together and point out areas that might need attention, or come up with ideas to help you accelerate various elements, or potentially improve upon the entries that you've put in these squares. So I might introduce you to a new kind of channel that you hadn't even thought of, or I might introduce you to a different kind of partnership that you weren't even aware that this kind of organization existed, but now they're perfect for what you need. And sometimes I've got a contact, so I can just connect you straight to that person, and it's quite simple. So yeah, incredibly powerful tool if used correctly. If used not, pretty useless. Just like with any tool, right? If you're not using it correctly, it doesn't tend to add a lot of value. So if we zoom in on the value proposition, value proposition canvas is taking a bit of a deeper look at these two elements, the value proposition square and the customer segments. So, and actually unpacking them into almost like these subcomponents, right? So it's drilling into the detail a little bit more. So effectively, we're trying to understand who our customer is and how our customers' pains, gains, and jobs to be done relates to our value proposition design, whatever that happens to be. So that's really cool. So yeah, sometimes I'm not 100% sure if there's a really strong linkage between value proposition and key and customer segment, but this will enable us to do further investigation and analysis on whether, you know, there's alignment there. We can also get alignment between value proposition and key partners. So sometimes some of our value propositions relate to the key partner square, and some of them relate to the customer segment square. And the reason why we need value propositions for the key partners is that key partners are the people that we sometimes, if not often, need to work together with in order to deliver a value proposition to a beneficiary or a customer segment. So sometimes we work with these guys, which is typically our supply chain or distribution chain, and to kind of almost like value proposition stack to deliver an end result to a customer segment. So yeah, I check all these kind of things as well, just to make sure that we haven't left any value on the table when we're designing what we need to in terms of the business. So operating model canvas, this is when you've pretty much done most of your high level work. And this drills into the operations, like how you work with key partners, undertake key activities, and make use of key resources much more efficiently. So you've got your suppliers. So yeah, you can break those three squares down into like almost like a value delivery chain. And so yeah, we're taking a bit more of a look at, you know, which suppliers are we using, what locations, and how do we kind of have it all come together to deliver that value proposition. At some stage, yeah, maybe in future sessions, I'll actually share with you all of the answers that I've come up with for my own business, just because there might be some analogies, particularly if you're in professional services or business advisory of some nature, because there's a lot of kind of secrets that are definitely worth sharing through this process. Organization, information management systems. So of course, there's actually an entire book that unpacks what we mean by all of these areas. But yeah, you can often unlock a lot of operational efficiency by undertaking such an exercise. Then if we zoom out even further from the business model, then we take a look almost at our organizational. Yeah, we get an organization level view of our organization, right? And so what an organization is composed of is pretty much just business models, right? Some of the business models, you would hope that at least some of them are generating revenue, because if not, then you're in a bit of bother, right? So one of the really difficult aspects of startup is that often where you'll approach founders and they haven't made a lot of progress towards exploiting value out of or money out of their their business model. So they've got a couple of different business models, and they're all in this explore phase. You've got people with 6 ideas, and some of them are semi-validated, others are more validated, but they're making no revenue. So this is quite a weak position to be in, because effectively you don't have cash coming in the door for you to be able to reinvest in the maturation of these more nascent ideas, and that can be quite problematic. So one of the things I tend to try to help founders come up with is a validated model that can help them fuel further exploration of the less mature models. So the journey that a business goes through is you come up with an idea, you go through discovery, which is bloody chaotic at times, just depending upon how complicated the model is as well. But these tech startups can be the most complicated of them all. If you're in services, you've got a little bit more wiggle room because you don't need to invest huge amounts of money in building a product from scratch. Then you go through validation. There's a whole variety of different levels of validation that you can get. And then, then your validation is further confirmed. And then it goes through this kind of valley of death from having confirmation to having it launched into the market. And then when it's launched into the market, it's got very little market penetration. So then we need to start to drive it up into this kind of section. So yeah, I'd have some of my business models would be up in this area, and some of them would be a little bit more like here. And then I've got a couple that are just about to transfer this kind of valley of death from confirmation to launch. Exciting stuff. But yeah, when I get founders to break down their business into these constituent parts, they start to realize a whole bunch of things. So the idea behind a lot of these canvases is really about accelerating those insights that you need in order to succeed. Sounds like a jingle of some sort. It's really as fundamental and simple as that. It's like using these as tools to unpack your business and view it from a whole variety of different perspectives. Then there's this key partnership kind of heat map so once we've identified the key partners, like what supply chain, exactly what company, exactly who in that company we need to partner with, then we need to figure out how hot are these people to doing business with us, right? So are they unproductive? Are they becoming more compliant, cooperative, or collaborative? So yeah, often key partners take a little bit longer to get to activate than customers, because we have to take them through a little bit more of a journey, all the way from being unaware to aware to understanding what we do, to support and buy-in, commitment and action, advocacy and ownership. And if we don't live in the same city and we can't readily go into their office, then sometimes these key partnerships can kind of wither on the vine pretty easily as more pressing issues in their life come up, in their business come up. And so often, you might create like a capability statement that helps you progress them all the way from unaware, well, maybe aware or understanding. So I've got quite a few at this understanding stage, which is good, but it's not great because they still have more of the journey to undertake, and I need to kind of help coax them through that process. And soft matrix. So up until recently, there's been an obsession with product development. Everyone wants to build a new app, which is all well and good, particularly if it's an app that will create value, that's for sure. But there are all these other ways of building businesses that don't require new product development. Like diversification is a different kind of play, and it could be bringing new products and services under your brand, and not requiring you to do any product development. You do market development, which is all about educating people. So actually right now we're undertaking a bit of a market development activity. where what I'm trying to do is say, look, guys, there are all these tools out there for you. Do you want to use them? Do you see value in them? So yeah, market development is mainly about educating your clients and your key partners about what's possible and what they should consider. Then market penetration is just like focusing on taking your product to market quite relentlessly. Then SWOT analysis, that's pretty self-explanatory. Then there's another one. So they're all nice and pretty colors and very visual, and that's why I call them visual strategy canvases, right? So they're like a canvas in one page, easy to update, easy to iterate. The business model canvas I describe as a one-page iterative business plan, because people know what a business plan is, but they don't necessarily know what a business canvas is. So that's how I describe it. One-page iterative or agile business plan. And then all of the rest of these canvases are kind of like derivatives of the business model canvas. They're all in some ways related to what the business model canvas is asking us to answer in terms of how we run the business or how we structure the business. So yeah, so this is a canvas we use to get in further into the head of the buyer or the key partner. So we try to understand what they see, our customer sees, and then we go to the hear side, and then the next square after that is think and feel, and then say and do. So often what people say and do is a function of what they see, then they hear, then they think and they feel, and then it comes out of their mouth, right? So it goes through all these convoluted processes before we actually get feedback as a response. Then there's the pains and the gains. And so that really helps us understand our customer quite a bit better. And there are more canvases, and there'll be ones that I will be launching that are kind of like a variation of ones that have been launched that have kind of aged, or they don't really take into account key elements that I've discovered to be important. Like there are a few that don't consider market dynamics. Do we have any questions? Jade and Roger, I can see that you're unmuted. Did you have a question at this moment? No. No, all good. Okay, so now let's take a look at the next stage, which is how to use Mural. So has anyone come across Mural before? Maybe try to raise your hand if you have, or Miro, which is like almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Who has seen it? I know that you have, Roger. That's great. Anyone else? No, that's okay. Well, maybe, okay, we've got a few comments here. So Jade hasn't, and Jennifer hasn't. Okay, no worries. All good. So Mural is a really cool tool. And so I'll just open it now and show you kind of how it works a little bit. It's pretty easy to use, particularly if you're like a digital native. Yeah, the other option is Miro, but effectively what it is, it's an online collaboration tool. And so what I do is I help people kind of build their plans through use of Miro. And so what you do is you create a new, Mural. So I'll create an open Mural. You can either create an infinite blank canvas, or you can use a template. So let's use the business model template, business model canvas here. And sometimes there'll be different variations. There's team canvases, there's a million different canvases here. So make sure you choose the right one. So they've actually, there's a bit, yeah, I've seen someone use this one. This is like to use as part of a workshop, and this is the business model canvas here that has been created by Strategizer. And these guys are the ones that created the business model canvas back in 2012. And they've written a book called Business Model Generation, yeah. So Dang, you're 100% right. It's another option to Miro, but you can use either one. They're pretty much the same. Yeah, so I use both personally. I've sort of shifted to Mural a little bit more, but effectively they've got pretty much the same functionality. But you might see a little bit of change, difference in the templates that are available. What you can see is there's a huge proliferation of these canvases. So people are using a very wide variety of canvases, but they're not getting a lot of experience with the canvases. And that's one of the really kind of the downsides, is that people use the canvas once or twice and that's about it. And they don't really understand how to squeeze all of the value out of it. Whereas in my case, I've used the canvas, business model canvas, about 200 to 300 times. So I can see all sorts of interesting patterns that other people can't because of that fact. And so, yeah, effectively, it just creates almost like a whiteboard. And sometimes it provides some additional information about how to use it. I often will provide clients a series of videos so that they can understand a little bit more about how to set themselves up. But it's just a matter of filling it in for yourself. So it could be like Business Station, or like say Gold Coast Innovation Hub, or whoever you have identified as partners. And then as you'll see in the coming slides, sometimes I've actually got, so say Roger chooses Gold Coast Innovation Hub, then I can actually introduce Roger to the CEO immediately. So there are circumstances that I've already got in my network, the people that the kind of partners that a given business needs to connect up with. And what this ends up doing is it ends up maturing the business really quickly. So we're not just kind of theoretically mapping out this model, we're actually going, okay, well, let's polarize it. Is there opportunity with Business Station at this moment in time? Is there opportunity with Gold Coast Innovation Hub right now? Which I've spelt wrong somehow. Same thing you can do to the customer segments. So say your customer segments are accountants or something like that. And what I can potentially do is I can go into my LinkedIn and see how many accountants I've got in your area as contacts, as contacts that I've been in contact with in the recent past, and actually start to make those connections. And what ends up happening is we're starting to operationalize this plan really quite rapidly. And yeah, it can result in major progress quite quickly, because if you reach out cold, it tends to be quite a bit more difficult. You're just a random person, ending up in someone's email or ending up in someone's LinkedIn direct messages. So it's rather less compelling. So, and there's something else you can do here as well. You can insert images, which, so say you can't find the import image from your computer. I'll try and find an example. So say that you need to do like a key stakeholder, heat map. So then what we would do is we would find strategy and processes. We can actually import this particular image onto our infinite white canvas. So all of a sudden now you've got multiple tools, right? We could actually create a template that have all the tools in there already. That's what one of my clients suggested. And I reckon that's not such a bad idea. So yeah, and then, you could have 2 or 3 canvases, you could have all 8, and then we can map them all out. We can review them. And the more time we have to review them, the more detail we can go into, the more questions we can ask. And the more questions we ask, the more progress we make, right? Because we're kind of shining light on some of these hidden elements that we haven't yet considered within our business building process. Yeah, so as I mentioned, this on one hand is a very simple presentation because we're looking at the fundamentals, but actually some of the ideas that I'm sharing with you are pretty advanced, and people that are 3, 5, 7 years into their business building process. So it's kind of like a spread. Like you could be on day 0 and never have heard of a business model canvas before, and you'll get some value hopefully out of this presentation. Or you could be 5 years down the track and you're now looking to kind of optimize and get everything reviewed in forensic detail to make sure you haven't missed something. That's those two extremes can definitely be the case. So how do they form an agile, an agile business planning and business modeling system? So you've got these canvases. So effectively, we use them in combination and then we review them forensically. That's pretty much how the system works. So I've got an article here, which you guys can go away and read. So when I think about the work that I do for founders, the work that I do with founders, more importantly, it's kind of like they're the original recording artists and I'm like the guy behind one of these kind of panels, right? Where we're twisting the knobs and we're making sure that the balance of the music is right and all that kind of stuff. Forgive me, I don't know too much about music production, but yeah, it's kind of analogous, right? So you, the co-founders or the founder is the recording artist, and the business advisor is the music producer and master and all that kind of stuff. So what we end up doing within the context of Mural is actually blending our know-how and intellectual properties together. So they come with some raw, amazing ideas and insights, and I try to help them put it into a structure so that they can get the most out of that kind of raw ingredient. So really, all this article is designed to kind of share as insights is that anyone can come up with these strategies and tactics that could work. But one of the things that makes things really tricky when you're building a business is just the sheer number of variables. And so so here's some examples, like how you position yourself, how you undertake prospecting, who you target in terms of customers or key partners, how you generate leads, capture leads, close sales, monetize, capture real-time market intel, tap into the right part of the right market, decide, which search terms or keywords. And I'm sure you can think of like multiple dozen variables as well. Whereas what these canvases do is actually allow us to capture those guesses, like what combination of these variables will work for us, right? So the article pretty much just says this is a great way of kind of capturing those fundamental ingredients or building blocks so that they can be reviewed in the light of day, and so that we've explicated them. We've gotten them out of our heads. They're no longer just like swimming around in our head, and we can see them on the page and we can progressively improve our guesses. And that's what business building is, right? We're dialing in these variables, these different business variables, so that we hit the right combination. So I've even heard on a podcast somewhere, it's like the job of a startup founder is to solve the combination lock to the safe before the funds run out. So that pretty much captures the essence of what we're doing with this system pretty accurately, really. So that's that. And so, an example order that we might undertake, kind of tackle each of these visual strategy canvases. We might go, for example, the business model canvas, then we might go the key partner, the key partner heat map, then we might go the value proposition canvas, then we might go the empathy map, although we might do those in the reverse order. Then we might pull the ANSOP matrix out, and then we might go and look at how our operations could be improved. So these are all different tools for improving all different kind of facets of your business building process. Excellent. Yeah. Awesome. So I think it's pretty obvious how value is unlocked, right? So for one, it's about insights. So you don't just get a canvas out the other side, you get a better canvas, right? And the better canvas comes from these comments that I will make over the course of time. Sometimes what I see is that multiple individuals are involved and the founder needs to go and ask someone else to answer this question that's related to a different business. So sometimes you get these quite long kind of conversations that happen within these threads, and you bring multiple brains together to figure out how it's all going to work. Pretty cool indeed. Sometimes there's opportunities that are hidden and lurking in there that I can see that, you know, founders can capitalize on. Sometimes there's objects and obstacles and issues that we need to bring to the fore. Yeah, so effectively what happens is the founder fills in one of these canvases. I go in there and respond on a one-on-one session within a one-on-one workshop. Of course, you can do that through Business Station and digital solutions if you wish. And then you get a bunch of notes within your canvas. And then the homework is to iterate the canvas. And so the canvas ends up getting better and better and better through this process. The more time you can invest, the more rigorous you can make the process. So there's a lot of value that can be kind of gleaned. We've already talked about this whole idea of iterating the canvas, blending our two, all of our experience in business. Like often I'm working with people that have got 10, 20, 30 years experience in business, and they've got a lot of knowledge. And so why not blend it together with my own and create something even better? So I do see it as a highly collaborative process, and one that we can kind of guide each other through as part of this process. And sometimes we can come up with some really innovative models, but effectively what it's doing is it's providing a place for you to put all your ideas about how your model works, and then others can see directly, almost like into your thoughts, and they can see your, how you think about how things are related and potentially some of the biases that can creep in. And it will provide you a new way of seeing your venture from a new angle, in a new light, whatever you want, right? So it's pretty cool. So this process is kind of central to how I work and what I want to help founders work on. So some of the key areas that I personally go after are like lack of clarity and understanding about if the founders are all unclear about how their business model works, I want to make sure that we can ask those questions that will help them clarify that. I want them to be more agile so that they can respond in real time to changes in the market and also opportunities as they pop up. And I also quite more recently have been really interested in helping founders access market and then penetrate market quite deeply. And this can take quite a while, just depending upon how you go about it. But I've kind of come up with a way of doing it that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think founders that have gone through the process have really benefited from. So it's kind of like, so we go through and we do the fundamental work, we do the planning and all that kind of stuff, we get the business model all sorted out. But then, as I mentioned before, I want to help the founder actually start to activate this key partner square and activate the customer segments so that they can actually see the results and start to see some of the fruits of our labors. So they don't just have this perfect document that they can't actually execute on. It's more of a case that we've identified who they want to go after, And then there's a ways and a means of then actually having a conversation and kind of polarizing it one way or another. And so, yeah, that's so how I work kind of post digital solutions is now, we continue on either a weekly basis, a fortnightly basis, a monthly or a quarterly basis. And well, someone is trying to call me, which shouldn't be, from a different country, from New Zealand. How terrible. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, so people come and work with me on an ongoing basis, and then each time I'll provide them a new set of referrals that they can get in contact with and further their cause. So that's part of, and actually in return, they'll provide me some contacts that are valuable to me. So in that sense, the model is to, just as small businesses should do anyway, but it's kind of a little bit more formalized, is to actually help each other explicitly build each other's business, which is really quite cool. So the results are a deeper market penetration, quicker ability to discover customer segments that they didn't know about, and the ability to save a huge amount of time and not needing to travel around Brisbane all the time, having breakfasts, endless breakfasts and all this kind of stuff with people that never end up working. You may not work together with those people that happen to be having those breakfasts in those groups. So yeah, that's a kind of a flavor of how I see the future. It's getting the fundamentals in place and then working together to execute and deliver the results that there is absolutely potential to deliver. That's pretty much it, guys. Do you have any questions before we wrap? So maybe give it some thought. I've got one more slide here, but if you do have questions, then do raise your hand or do type. I'll just see if there's any comments, because I can't see the comments section actually. Nope, there's nothing in the chat so far. Okay, there's quite a few that have just popped up. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's a lot to take in. I do agree. It's not. Okay, so we'll go back to Dang's question, which was at 12:36. He mentioned, how is this different from Miro? Pretty much it isn't. So particularly when you can import the other canvases, whatever canvases are not there. So maybe the value proposition canvas isn't there, maybe the business model portfolio map isn't there. Just import it as an image, and then you can slap on your post-it notes. Okay, how often do you review your business model canvas? I get a feeling I need to do it every couple of months. But one of the things about doing this work is it's really high-level work, like zoomed out. And so it's a combination of getting that strategy piece right and then drilling down into the details, actually operationalizing your strategy. So it takes a while to actually follow through on those new strategies. And then one of the reasons why I help founders execute is because of that. I can help them shortcut that. Okay, now we've aimed at this new position. Okay, let's start firing straight away, instead of, oh, we've got a new aim, but now you're going to need to figure out how to fire, and that can take a long time and not necessarily result in much progress. So I think that execution piece is like the missing piece of the puzzle that will make everything a lot more easy. Yeah, Jennifer, there is a huge amount to take in. This is quite a complicated topic. But if you want to catch up at any stage, and we can unpack it a little bit, because it sounds like, you're reasonably early days, and you need some of this. This is the first time you would have come across a lot of this kind of material. That's perfectly understandable. And so, yeah, Roger has also, I think he's been through the business model clarification process. So now he's come back, and we're talking about the system more broadly. So we've zoomed into the business model canvas, we've clarified quite a bit there, but he also needs to understand that this is one of multiple steps that can be ongoing. Now I've actually added like an execution piece to it so that, you know, we can translate that strategy into action very rapidly. Because yeah, it's not always that easy. Like you can have a strategy, but operationalizing it is not always as straightforward. Are there any other questions or comments that you guys would like to make at this time? Okay, we've got one from Dang, but anyone else, like we've still got a few minutes that I can field questions, so I'm really happy to do it. For startups you work with, what's the average duration, hours / sessions to arrive at a reasonable business model canvas? That's a fantastic question. Typically depends on, you know, how long they've been going and how much clarity they already have. So some business models are reasonably chaotic and they require, you know, some quite foundational and fundamental work to be done. Or you can have these very advanced founders, but they're very early. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a function about how long they've been going with the venture and the sophistication of the founder. Okay. So for a business model canvas, typically I like to at least set aside 2 hours. So that's two times 1 hour sessions. But they will need to send me their canvas already pre-populated, so I can start to read it and start to understand where they're up to. And but the fortunate thing about that is you can do it as part of the digital solutions program. So it pretty much costs you $40 plus GST, right? And then you get another third hour to do whatever else you want to do, maybe do another canvas or have a strategy kind of session. But there are certain people that like to dial it in a lot. And so I've spent 6 or 9 hours at times with founders that really, really, really want to go into each nook and cranny. But typically it doesn't take more than about 4 or 5 hours in total. But yeah, you do have fanatical founders, which I think are the best founders. The fanatics are the best, that want to leave no stone unturned. And so sometimes we'll go through multiple iterations. But again, sometimes, you know, the founder will come with, you know, a canvas that I'll already give like a B- and we get it up to an A, right? Sometimes, you know, you're starting really early. I'm not going to give negative scores to people, but it requires a lot of work. And it takes a little bit longer because there's quite a number of insights that the founder needs to have through that journey in order to start to work their way towards an A or an A+ grade that then we can go and execute upon. Cool, fantastic questions. I hope that the answers made sense. If they didn't and you'd like to talk through it, just let me know. And of course, I'm bookable. So I'll just show you the ways in which we could potentially meet into the future. So let me just show you. So, oh, we've got 2 comments coming up now. Yeah. So there's 3 ways, right? Through digital solutions. We're just in the process of launching online speed networking. We'll go to Queensland and then Western Australia. The second way is to work with me on your visual strategy canvases. If you can see all the value that you can get there. And there's also more workshops and webinars of varying complexities and topics that cover like quite a few of the fundamentals. And then sometimes for select founders, I'm able to kind of work in almost like a co-founder capacity. So they graduate digital solutions and then we can work with them ongoing, either weekly, fortnightly, monthly, or quarterly, just depending upon where they're up to in their journey and what they're kind of missing. Excellent, guys. Well, thanks for coming along. Do let me know if you've got any questions. I'll send you this in an email, and yeah, just hit the reply if you want to keep in touch in any capacity, or have any questions about the detail, the content today that we have been covering. Excellent. So we've got one more. Okay. So someone has asked, will the presentation slides be shared? Absolutely, yes. That's definitely, when it comes to information, I'm very happy to share it all the information I have with everyone. So that's your answer. Thanks very much. And thanks very much for your contributions and questions, and best of luck with all of your respective businesses.